to everyone. So today, on 16th May 2023, we actually have two paper presentation sessions because of the number of papers which we got. We actually allotted the papers into two slots today on literature. One we have divided for Kannada, and this session will be for English literature papers. The chairperson for this session is Dr. Saraswati Kupwade ma'am, Head and Associate Professor, retired, Postgraduate Department of English, Rani Parvati Devi College, Belgavi. I warmly welcome you, ma'am, on behalf of our Honorary President and President to this session. I also welcome our Honorary President, Sri Nandan Shastri sir, and President Ms. Manali Momaya, and all the presenters who are going to present their papers in this session, and participants who have joined us for the discussion in this session. Now I request Ms. Manali Momaya to introduce our today's chairperson of this session, Dr. Saraswati Kumphade ma'am. Over to you, Manali.
Thank you, Nidhi, for this welcome, and it's an honor to have Dr. Saraswati Kupwade ji with us today here. We have actually at the last minute we invited ma'am, and she graciously agreed to our invitation to chair this session on the English literature papers. So we are really thankful to you, ma'am, for that. It is an honor to introduce ma'am here. Dr. Saraswati Kupwade retired as Associate Professor and Head, Postgraduate Department of English, Rani Parvati Devi College, Belgavi, with a total service experience of 37 years. She completed her BA from the Karnataka Arts College, Dharwad, with gold medal in English majors, and MA in Karnataka University, Dharwad, in English, with the second rank to the university. Ma'am has always been a very brilliant student throughout her academic career. Her PhD was on the title Indian English Literature Surveys and Analysis, awarded by the Karnataka University Dharwad in 1998 and later published by Chetan Publishers, Bangalore in 2011. She chaired a session in the international conference organized by Women's University of Bijapur, which is now renamed as Akka Mahadevi Women's University, in 2013. She has delivered keynote addresses at several conferences, and her post-doctoral studies include being an associate of the University Grants Inter-University Center for Humanities and Social Sciences at the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla. She completed she has attended several national level workshops and refresher courses, and is a member of several academic bodies, including the Indian Association of American Studies. She has presented several papers in national and international conferences and has, to her credit, publications in various national and international level journals and volumes. Her papers on English literature and American literature, especially, have been published and in reputed books. She was selected as Group Study Exchange member for the Rotary International Foundation and visited USA, where she studied literature in Arizona State University, Phoenix. She has also visited Nepal and Sri Lanka in connection with literature studies. It is we are very lucky, ma'am, to have you with us here today. With this brief introduction, I now request Ms. Nidhi to proceed with the paper presenters to begin the paper presentation.
Okay, can we start the presentations?
Yes, with the permission of the chairperson, I think.
Yeah. Ma'am, can we start the presentations?
Yeah, we can start, and I'm very happy to join all of you. I think we have 8 people to present the papers. So I think let's not waste time and let's fix to the time. 6 minutes you say for each presenters. So yeah, you can start.
So our first presenter is Dr. Mamta Sharma, and her title is Vedic Sahitya mein नारी का स्थान. I hope Mamta ma'am is here. She's
जी
present.
जी
I
मैम,
think. Yes.
धन्यवाद मैम.
Ma'am, please switch on your video.
ओके मैम, एक्चुअली नेटवर्क इशू है थोड़ा सा, तो मैं फिर भी थोड़ी देर ऑन रखूंगी. बात ये है. सिंहस्ता शशि शेखरा मरकत प्रकेश च चतुर्विदे विजयी शंखम चक्र धनुषरांश्च दधति नेत्रे स्त्रीणी शोभिता. आवासीय पटल अंतरराष्ट्रीय संगोष्ठी में उपस्थित सभी विद्वजनों को मेरा नमस्कार. मैं डॉक्टर ममता शर्मा, राजकीय महिला महाविद्यालय जम्मू में संस्कृत विभाग में अध्यक्षा के पद पर नियुक्त हूँ. जैसा कि निधि मैम ने मेरा विषय तो पहले ही बता दिया, फिर भी मैं एक बार विषय अपना बताना चाहूंगी कि आज जो मेरा इस संगोष्ठी का विषय है, वैदिक साहित्य में नारी का स्थान. वेदों के मुख्य विषय हैं कर्म, उपासना और ज्ञान, जो समस्त मानव जाति के धर्म हैं. वेद ज्ञान के भंडार हैं. उस भंडार में खोज करने पर नारी के महत्व और उसके सामाजिक शैक्षिक योगदान को प्रकाशित करने वाले विषय भी दृष्टिगोचर होते हैं. मैडम मेरी समझ आ रही है ना? मैंने मतलब क्योंकि हिंदी में ही है मेरा, तो
नहीं, हिंदी का कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं है क्योंकि मैं नॉर्थ इंडिया में मैंने स्टडीज किया है, सो नो प्रॉब्लम, आप हिंदी में बोल सकते हैं. कुछ
धन्यवाद. धन्यवाद. चारों वेदों में से अधिकांशतः ऋग्वेद में ही प्राचीन काल से चली आने वाली नारी की सभ्यता और संस्कृति पर प्रकाश डाला गया है. वैदिक काल में महिलाओं की स्थिति समाज में अत्यंत ऊंची थी और उन्हें अभिव्यक्ति की पूर्ण स्वतंत्रता प्राप्त थी. उन्हें धार्मिक क्रियाओं में पुरोहितों एवं ऋषियों का दर्जा प्राप्त था. वे धर्म शास्त्रार्थ में भी भाग लेती थी. मानव जीवन की धुरी 3 आधारों पर टिकी है: ज्ञान, धर्म और शांति. ज्ञान, धर्म व शांति की स्वामिनी के रूप में स्त्रीवाचक शब्द का प्रयोग होना उसकी श्रेष्ठता को बताता है. स्त्री की समृद्धि और संस्कृति की अधिष्ठात्री भी कहा जाता है. परा और अपरा शक्ति के रूप में चर्चा तत्वज्ञानी हमेशा से करते रहे हैं. सरस्वती, लक्ष्मी, दुर्गा आदि अनेक रूपों में उसकी आराधना होती रही है. इन्हीं शक्तियों का संयुक्त एवं मूर्तिमान रूप है नारी. हिंदू समाज में स्त्री का सम्मान और आदर प्राचीन काल से ही आदर्शात्मक और मर्यादा युक्त था. परिवार और समुदाय में उनके द्वारा कन्या, पत्नी, वधू और मां के रूप में किए जाने वाले योगदान का सर्वदा महत्व और गौरव रहा है. सरस्वती देवी पतित पावनी, धन दायिनी, सत्य की ओर प्रेरित करने वाली शिक्षिका और ज्ञानदात्री वो स्त्री मानी गई है. इस काल में विषफला तथा मृदु गलानी जैसी तत्कालीन उस समय की ख्याति प्राप्त नारियों का भी वर्णन प्राप्त होता है. शिक्षा, गृहस्थ जीवन, यज्ञ अनुष्ठान में स्त्रियों का सम्मानप्रद स्थान प्राप्त था. विधवाओं का पुनर्विवाह भी प्रचलित था वैदिक समय में. वैदिक कालीन नारी की जब हम बात करते हैं तो हमें उसके विभिन्न रूपों और कार्यों का अवलोकन होता है. शिक्षा, धर्म, व्यक्तित्व और सामाजिक विकास में उसका महान योगदान था. नववधु को श्वशुर गृह यानी कि ससुराल में उसको पटरानी की संज्ञा दी जाती थी. उसे पति के साथ प्रत्येक कार्य में सहयोगी माना जाता था. ऋग्वैदिक नारी पुरुषों की तरह समाज की स्थायी और गौरवशाली अंग थी. वह अत्यंत सुशिक्षित, सुसभ्य तथा सुसंस्कृत होती थी. वह पति के साथ मिलकर याज्ञिक कार्य संपन्न कराती थी. वैदिक युग की नारी स्वच्छंद एवं मुक्त थी, परंतु उसे सामाजिक मान सम्मान प्राप्त था. वैदिक युग में स्त्री शिक्षा अपनी उच्चतम सीमा पर थी. ऋग्वैदिक पंडिता स्त्रियों जैसे रोमशाह, अपाला, उर्वशी, विश्ववारा, सिक्ता, निवावरी, गोशाह, लोपामुद्रा आदि ने अध्ययन अध्यापन के साथ साथ अनेक ऋचाओं का भी प्रणयन किया था. उच्च शिक्षा प्राप्त स्त्री को विवाह योग्य अत्यधिक उत्तम माना जाता था. वैदिक कालीन स्त्रियां ब्रह्मचर्य धर्म का पालन करते हुए उपनयन संस्कार भी कराती थी तथा शिक्षा ग्रहण करती थी. ब्रह्म यज्ञ में जिन ऋषियों की गणना की जाती है उनमें सुलभा, गार्गी, मैत्रेयी आदि विदेशियों के नाम भी समान पूर्वक लिए जाते हैं, जिनकी प्रतिष्ठा वैदिक ऋषियों के समान थी. वैदिक ज्ञान के साथ साथ ललित कलाओं में भी वो पारंगत थी. सह शिक्षण पद्धति के अंतर्गत अब मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा मैम मैं कहाँ से छोड़ूं और कहाँ से बोलूं। फर्स्ट बेल तो हो गई, मॉर्निंग बेल। वैदिक युग में स्त्री को संपत्ति अधिकार भी प्राप्त थे। वैदिक मंत्रों में संकेत मिलता है कि संतान न होने पर पति के पश्चात पत्नी ही संपत्ति की स्वामिनी होती थी। पुत्र न होने पर पिता की संपत्ति की उत्तराधिकारी वो स्त्री ही मानी जाती थी। कभी कभी स्त्रियां अपने संपत्ति विषयक अधिकार हेतु न्यायालय में भी जाती थी। इसका तात्पर्य ये है कि वैदिक स्त्री अपने अधिकारों के प्रति भी जागरूक थी। वैदिक युग की नारी स्वतंत्र और स्वच्छंद भी थी। उस समय पर्दा प्रथा का कोई प्रचलन नहीं था, तभी सह शिक्षा का वातावरण था जिसको हम को एजुकेशन कहते हैं। साथ ही ऋग्वेदिक वर्णन बताते हैं कि नववधु सभी आगतों को दिखाई जाती थी। उस समय भी जब नई दुल्हन आती थी घर में तो वो सभी जो आगंतुक होते थे, आए हुए होते थे, जो जिनको हम गेस्ट बोलते हैं, उनको वो दिखाई जाती थी। ये प्रदर्शित करता है कि वैदिक युग की नारी नैतिकता, चरित्र, सौष्ठव, निष्ठा, उज्जवल आचरण, सुसंस्कृता की प्रतिमूर्ति थी। उस समय की स्त्री वैदिक समाज का एक आदर्श उदाहरण थी तथा यह आशा की जाती थी कि वह अपनी वृद्धावस्था तथा जनसभाओं में बोल पाएगी तथा लोगों को समझ पाएगी। वैदिक कालीन नारी वितत हो गया, सभा और समिति तथा समन हो गया, उत्सव और मेला में स्वच्छंदता पूर्वक सम्मिलित होती थी। नारी स्त्री धन से ब्राह्मणों को दान देती थी। वृद्धावस्था तक नारी अपने घर में प्रभुता रखती थी। ये नहीं है कि आज प्रभुता खत्म हो गई। ओके, अंततः मैं ये कहना चाहती हूँ कि महिलाओं की स्थिति में सुधार ने देश के आर्थिक, सामाजिक एवं राजनीतिक मायने ही बदल दिए हैं। आज के इस प्रतिस्पर्धात्मक युग में महिलाएं अपने अधिकारों के प्रति पहले से सचेत हैं। नारी उत्थान में ही भारत के उज्जवल भविष्य की संभावनाएं सन्निहित होती हैं। इसी तरह मैं अपनी वाणी को विराम देते हुए अंत में मैं शांति मंत्र बोलना चाहती हूँ। सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मां कश्चित् दुःख भाग्। ओम शांति शांति शांति। धन्यवाद।
वेल डॉक्टर ममता शर्मा, इट्स अ वेरी वाइड टॉपिक। आपने बहुत क्या बोलते हैं, इतने थोड़े समय में नहीं होने वाला आपका टॉपिक। और आई जस्ट वांटेड दैट आप थोड़ा कुछ ऋग्वेद या दूसरे वेदों से एग्जाम्पल कोट करते। एनीवे आपका टाइम भी नहीं है। एनीवे वेल थैंक यू फॉर योर प्रेजेंटेशन। क्वेश्चंस किसी के पास? एनीबडी इज इंटरेस्टेड इन आस्किंग क्वेश्चंस? Nidhi, any questions?
No. Manali has a question, ma'am. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. When we talk about the Vedas and the women who have been mentioned in the Vedas, we look at them only as wives or mothers or at the most as teachers. But were there any other professions among the women, such as let's say doctors or some other professional occupations which the women were doing?
ऐसा है कि जैसे मैंने पहले बताया कि उनको सारे अधिकार प्राप्त थे। जैसे कि पहले तो जो मैंने अभी बीच में बोलना था वो समय ही नहीं था, समय का अभाव था। जैसा कि ये बताया गया है कि अब माता पिता भी चाहते थे कि उनके जो बच्चे हैं, जो कि आज के समय में जो नारी काम नहीं करवाती, और वो है जैसे हम देखते ना पंडित, ठीक है। तब नारियों को ये था, स्त्रियों को ये था कि वो पंडित मतलब उनको बनाया जाए, ठीक है। मतलब उसके साथ साथ उनके जो आप व्यवसाय के बोल रहे हैं ना, उनके साथ साथ उनके व्यवसाय के कार्य भी थे। जैसे घर में अपने मतलब उन्होंने क्या करना, जैसे शिल्प कला आदि, ठीक है, इस तरह के वो व्यवसाय करती थी। पर ये था कि तब नारी पूर्ण रूप से स्वतंत्र थी। जबकि आज के आधुनिक युग में आप देखोगे तो नारी को मतलब हम जॉब तो करते हैं, नौकरी तो करते हैं, किंतु कुछ ऐसी जो है हमें मर्यादाओं में बांध दिया गया है कि जैसे हम कहते हैं कि नारियां जो है पंडित नहीं बन सकती, है ना। पर उस समय वो था, उनका उपनयन संस्कार किया जाता था, वो सिर्फ पुरुषों का ही या लड़कों का ही होता था, पर स्त्रियों का भी तब होता था। आज के समय वो उपनयन संस्कार यहाँ नहीं है। व्यवसाय के रूप में मतलब नारी जो है वो शिल्प कला आदि जो जितने भी कार्य थे वो करें।
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
धन्यवाद।
Thank you, ma'am. So our next presenter is Aparna Singh and her title is Nation, Gender, Religion in Imtiaz Dharkar's I Speak for the Devil.
Excuse ma'am, may I leave?
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you.
And is the screen visible?
Yes, please put it on slideshow.
Yes, ma'am. Please do the slideshow.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much, history enthusiasts, for giving me this opportunity. And with my due respect to the chair, I begin my paper, which is titled "Nation, Gender, Religion in Imtiaz Bharkar's I Speak for the Devil." This is a poetry collection, Speak for the Devil, and here we find that this is an act of rebellion which is very loud, clear, and unambiguous in its confrontation of religious, gendered, and national identities. The contents of the book have been broadly divided into three sections. The sections are called "They'll Say She's from Another Country," "The Broken Umbrella," and I Speak for the Devil." For Dharkar, the inaugural moment of this journey is a politically ripe incident in Pakistan, highlighting the killing of a woman who had asked for divorce. Her death is glibly manipulated by the facade of honor killing, alerting the readers to geographical spaces deeply imbricated in social, cultural, and gendered paradigms. Her spatial identity as a South Asian Muslim woman, having relocated in Glasgow, shuttling between the USA and India, shapes and defines her poetic idiom. Aligning the private and the public, Dharkar seeks to locate her identity within a specific South Asian spatiality, exploring in the process issues that inform an eclectic mix of the global and the local. Her poems are situated at the intersection of her gendered, her national, and her diasporic identities. They also encapsulate the complexity of the space that takes cognizance of the objectifying tendencies of the knowledge on the other, which exists in a large proportion, while acknowledging that it is neither pure nor totally divorced from its viewing position. Who speaks for whom, and how are questions that marks, who speaks for whom and how are questions that mark her poetic allegiances and choices. I'll go to this is the title of the book and the cover page, which she has herself, created. It is her own drawing. I go to her poems now. The first poem, that is called "Honor Killing," is an interesting poem, she kind of, the speaker, the speaker's decision to give up his sartorial choices, made more out of habit than design, speaks of a specific kind of cultural internalization that ironically leaves no room to choose. The poem begins with a choice that the poet makes and moves back into contents that had stripped her of all choices. The speaker then moves on from one rejection to another, step by step, discovering and registering her newly discovered self. It almost approximates the gradual peeling of an onion, layered in years of gendered conditioning. The narrative veers dizzyingly between an upward self-realization and finally an eerie renunciation of body, skin, face, flesh, and womb. And the next poem is called "The Orders." It begins with the problematics of subjectivity. Graphic images of violence lie strewn glaringly across the poem. It ends with a surprising starkness. Is that my shoe floating on the water? The next poem is called "Here," is all about the contingencies of moving beyond countries that one claimed as theirs. The nondescript trails of an unassuming refugee elusively moves in search for an identity as the past loses its relevance. And the speaker is left without a home as she has emptied herself, and there are no new homes that she can pour her heart into. The door signifies everything she has left behind and can never come back to. A sense of losing oneself, one's identity, becomes evident as she feels disoriented and lost. The next poem, which is called "There," as the next poem itself, names itself, it is also about reclaiming space, her home. The speaker is speaking from the receiving end. Now, the next poem is an interesting poem. Yes, I'm about to finish. It is called "Stitched," which unfolds the multiple, often disintegrated selves that contribute to the making of diasporic identities. The image of a sutured self with different languages, different cultures, it kind of pulls her apart in different directions. And just one more poem announcing the departure, which is called, one almost prefers the space between spaces, the time between times. And finally, Tharpar's poems trace a complex and revelatory journey, starting with the striptease, where the claims of nationality, religion, and gender are passed off to allow an exploration of new identities, strong and emotional. They raise issues of political activity, homesickness, urban violence, religious anomalies in the most ordinary and unobtrusive of settings. And because I think I have probably 30 more minutes, I might go 30 more seconds. This poem, Tongue, is an interesting poem. It engages in dialogues between her hybrid selves, positioned at the intersection between religion, gender, and nation. And diaspora, more often than not, evokes two social spheres of interaction, the place of residence and the place from which migration has occurred. So agency in these multiple locations is in the diasporic group, which exhibits some form of collective mobilization around the tensions between homes and abroad. It is the ongoing political, economic, social, and cultural ties between multiple institutionalized spaces that characterize diaspora. The notion of belonging and the imposition of a single idea of belonging to the nation are potentially brought under question of diaspora. So these are the issues that the poet deals with. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aparna ma'am. If anyone has any question, they can ask. Please unmute yourself and you can ask the questions to ma'am. Okay, I guess there are no questions, so we can move to the next paper. So our next presenter is Prerna Roy, and her title of the paper is Women in Contemporary Literature and Media.
Good afternoon, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, so I'll just start by sharing my screen. Just a second. Can you see my screen? Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay, so first of all, my name is Prerna Roy, and I'm an undergraduate student from Calcutta University. I study English literature, and that's why I have chosen the subject of women in contemporary literature and media. Okay, so as we all know, that literature wasn't formed in one day. Literature as well as media has traversed a long way throughout history, and throughout our journey, we have learned to grow inclusive. We have learned to enlarge our audience and the mindset. And when initially in the earlier stages, only books on author poems and stuff written by Western and white authors were read, where in that situation currently in this era, authors like who are from Asia or East Africa, everywhere, authors are prevalent and their books are being read, which means that literature and books have a much broader reading scale. The audience is much more broader, and it is covering made the situations worse, or has it made the situation bad? So when we talk about women in literature or media, we have to talk about the first female author who got paid. And I think you might be surprised to know this, but this is the female author, Afra Ben, who was not only a playwright, she was also a poetess and also a spy. This quote by Virginia Woolf, a contemporary writer, modernist, and feminist, where she says, "All women together ought to let flowers fall on the tomb of Afra Ben, for it was she who earned them the right to speak their minds." This quote just sums up how much women required a role model in their lives. So the women we were.
I think there is some problem. I cannot hear Prerna Roy.
Prerna ma'am, we cannot hear you. Please, are you there? Let us know. Prerna ma'am, are you there?
Actually, she had posted in the group that there was some network issue and she has joined from her phone.
Okay.
Maybe that's why.
Okay, we will wait for a minute. We can do one thing. We can take the next presentation and again, ma'am, if possible, continue.
Just give her a minute.
Yes,
If
yes.
she joins back.
Sure.
I think she has already taken some 3 minutes or 2 seconds. I'll give her later. You can give her later, the time the same, because we are running behind. But we will be in short.
She has joined, ma'am, actually.
Is it?
Okay.
Prerna, can you please continue without the PPT?
Okay, without without the PPT?
Yes, please, because your voice was getting stuck in between.
No, we
Okay,
could not.
so
Yeah.
Yeah, you have only 2 or 3 minutes left, so you have to go fast, please.
Yes.
okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. So what I'm trying to say here is I'm trying my PPT or my presentation is a journey throughout women, how they have come a long way. I'll try to shorten it down. As we all know, during the 16th and 17th century, not much were expected from women. They were expected to knit the house, tend the orchards, have a baby, feed the baby, and eventually die. A quote from really a poet laureate Robert Southey, where he says that literature can never be the business of a woman's life. The more she is engaged in her proper duties, the less leisure she will have for it, even as an accomplishment and a recreation. He said this about the really famous author Charlotte Bronte, whose books have now become classics and are present in every literature students' bookshelves. Now we have come a long way. There has been after the contempt when we talk about contemporary literature, the Second World War has a huge impact on contemporary literature or contemporary media. The feminist movements, the black feminist movement, the suffrage movement, the liberation movement, all these movements brought about a huge change and growth in women. Women, we see now in the next situation where women we see, I have tried to talk about media, women in media. Here, I have taken reference of 3 movies. One movie which is called Darlings, where I think the cast is Alia Bhatt and also Shefali Shah. Another movie, Bulbul, which is casted by Tripti Dimri, and Juice, which is a short film. You might have seen or not seen it on YouTube, and it has garnered more than 9 million views. So in these movies and in these places and in these short films and stuff, women are represented in a way which is partially true and sometimes maybe also not true enough. For example, Bulbul is a movie that begins and ends with control. Touring, that is a metaphor that is used in the movie Bulbul, where it shows that how much society controls its women, dominates its women, and eventually tortures her to the point where she can't take it anymore and eventually becomes the demon that everybody starts fearing. Darlings is a story about abuse and how women are learned to accept it, and how our system might think that they are doing so much for their women when in reality it's just as flawed as our husbands are. Juice, a short film that is showing the invisible hands of women who are constantly serving their husbands relentlessly, selflessly, and not getting anything but bad talk in return. So these movies and media have a huge impact on an audience, on everybody who watches it. I have not been able to cover all kinds of movies. I'm sure that there are other movies which put women in a much different light than these female centric movies have. But let's just conclude by saying that women haven't had it easy. They still don't. While we cannot say that things are perfect, we can also not say that things aren't better. But one thing cannot be denied, that history cannot properly be read through textbooks. It is always, and it always should be read through poets and writers and playwrights. And with an increasing number of women writers, in our world, I think it's very important that women get the rights that they have been fighting for so long, so our future generations do not cast a mass rebel against the system. It's not a fact, it's not a threat, it's just a fact. Thank you for letting me present my.
Well, thank you, Prerna. I find two, three things I must, speak about. First of all, your title, Women in Contemporary Literature and Media, it's a very, very wide topic. And I believe that you have limited it to British literature. Because when we say women in contemporary literature, you have so many different literatures. And you talk about Afroben and you talk about Robert Sadeh, these words. So I have a feeling you talk about British literature. So you have to mention that in your title too. Because otherwise it becomes, we expect something more. And anyway, 6 minutes is too less for your title, for your topic, contemporary literature and media. So you have talked also about 3 movies, short movies, as well as about, you have summarized and you have tried to explain. Well, any questions from the audience?
I do have a question, ma'am.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to congratulate Prerna for summarizing her paper so well and for this wonderful presentation. And I do concur, as a student of history, when we are trying to recreate the story of the marginalized communities, we do have to take literature into account, because we do not find other sources for their reconstruction of their history. But my question is, uh, can we take as it is the literature what is written about, because even in literature these communities tend to be marginalized, the women, the dalits, the tribals, and the other marginalized communities, even in literature they have been neglected. So wherever they are mentioned, can we take it as it is, that literature?
Well, it depends on the author that you are reading. Maybe there are some authors who give justice to most of the communities, while some authors are not able to do so. It might be intentional, it might not be intentional, but from a recent book that I have read, it's not about it's not about Dalits, it's not about any marginalized community. It's about Afghanistan. Khalid Hosseini's A Thousand Splendid Suns. I don't know if you have heard about this, but that book I read aptly describes and it invokes the feeling of sadness and pain that the women and men went through during the situation and the political unrest in Afghanistan. When spoken about whether to take the literary text as it is, I want to say this thing that in A Thousand Splendid Suns, Khalid Hosseini explains whatever happened, and in a segment he says that books were burned during one of these protests. And such a similar incident had happened in 2023, this year, during the time of Ram Navami in Bihar's Azizia library. 4,500 books, handwritten books, were burned. And there's a news clipping from The Wire where I'm seeing a Muslim man crying, and he's saying that Quran is a Muslim equivalent for us, for Hindus, where it is the Ramayana and Mahabharata. For them,
Well,
it's the
Prerna,
Quran.
let me just interrupt. See, the question is about women tribal literature. Do you come across? She has asked about that. Well, we do know that literature is a mirror of life, and in literature we do come across whatever written. Of course, it's fiction, but still you find it reflects life. So, do you come across any tribal women? The writings of tribal women. That's the question.
Unfortunately, I haven't come across any as for now, but I hope I will come across something in the future. If I do, I will definitely write about it.
Because we do find that women had very, it was not the world of, it was a man's world. So naturally, you couldn't expect women, and
Yes.
that even in the 19th century, books were kept on the uppermost shelf so that women couldn't reach. So
Yes.
So it was difficult for women, and in that too, we were talking about. The question was about women tribal literature. Okay, thank you. Any other question?
Thank you, Prerna. There is no question. I just want you to add something. As you have taken 3 masterpiece short film and films, Pitbull, Darling, and all, where Shifali is the main lead character. There is one more short film in Amazon Mini TV, Grey, the name of the short film is. So you can go through that and please try to add it in your paper. It may be helpful for you.
Okay, I will definitely watch it. Thank you for recommending it so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prerna. Thank you so
Yeah, I
much.
think we should go to the next
Yes, ma'am.
paper presenter.
So our next presenter is Ms. Sunil Muchandi, and his title is A New Voice of Urvi in Kavita Kane's Karna's Wife, the Outcast Queen.
Yeah.
Sunil, Mr. Sunil, are you present?
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you
Yes,
are.
sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me share my presentation.
So can you switch on your video please?
Wait.
Those participants who have presentations, I request them to keep the presentations ready on your laptops or phones because it takes up a lot of time.
Sunil, if we cannot see you, it's all right. If you are audible, that's all right. Please, you can start, I believe.
Just a minute. Once again, I will try.
No problem, sir. You can start.
Wait a minute.
So do you need some time for the preparations? We can take the next participant until then.
No, ma'am, it's showing that it's unsupported file. Okay, I will open through laptop. Okay, my title of the paper is New Voice of Urvi in Kavita Kane's Karna's Wife, the Outcast Queen. Myself, Sunil Muchandi. I am a research scholar pursuing research from Rani Chennamma University, and my guide is Dr. Nagaratna V. Parande. She is a professor, English Department, Rani Chennamma University. Here, literature reflects social issues. It shows not only socio-political and economical condition of the era, but also sheds light on psychological issues of that time. Literature is not just a fairy tale or meant for a leisure time. It consists very crucial issues like man-woman relationships, dominators, subordinates, and plot makers and stereotypes relationship. Since ancient time, not only in India but all over the globe, patriarchal society dominates the literature. But as time passes, women start protesting for their fundamental rights, equality, and freedom. Women writers choose literature as a means of their protest. They start expressing their anger, frustration, and rebellion through novels, poetry, drama, and autobiographies. Women writers faced many challenges while expressing their experiences because literature and language was not best suited for females. Women writers start decoding literature and language and tries to give an independent identity to their literature. The wave of deconstructing the male dominant literature spreads all over the world. Women pose challenge to every aspect of male dominant literature. They challenge authorship, characterization, plot making, and narrative technique. Thus begins the women literature. The status of women changes according to the time and space. Especially in a country like India, women face many challenges. Comparatively, they are unique in global scenario. In India, culture is influenced by the ancient literature. It is the culture which decides man-woman relationships. It decides who is superior and inferior, who is virtuous and ideal, and sets norms for social life. Such Indian culture is dominated by ancient literature, especially two great epics set the norms which govern social life of every Indian. But the great epics of India are uh, written by male authors and comparatively completely patriarchal in nature. Women writers find their own solutions to their problems by restructuring, reshaping, revisiting, and revisioning the epics. They reinterpret myths to give space for female characters. They re-narrate the myths to give voice to female characters. Thus, retelling and revisiting of the great epics becomes popular among contemporary literature. The present paper is exploration of one such retelling. The paper deals with Kavita Kane's fictional character Urvi from Karna's wife, the outcast queen. Kavita Kane in her novel gives voice to marginalized character Urvi. She is completely muted and ignored in the Mahabharata. As the title suggests, Urvi is double marginalized for being a woman and the outcast. Throughout the novel, Urvi is portrayed as a bold, courageous, and rebellious woman. She raises voice against patriarchal society. Urvi and her husband Karna faces discrimination and marginalization in terms of gender and caste. The problem of Urvi is associated with her marriage with Karna. Karna's problem begins with his birth. He is illegitimate son of Kunti as he is born before the Kunti's marriage. Then Karna brought up as a charioteer's son. Because of his status as a charioteer's son, he faces lot of humiliation. He is not allowed to show his archery skills at archery tournament in Hastinapur. Draupadi also humiliates him at his Swayamvara ceremony. But Urvi doesn't bother about social norms and goes against Manu codes. She loves Karna though she knows he is a Sutaputra. Intercaste marriage is strictly prohibited, but still she marries Karna, who is a Sut, and Urvi is a Kshatriya. At this point, one can find a difference between attitudes of Vyasa's Draupadi and Kane's Urvi. One tries to adhere to the Manu code's social restrictions and patriarchal norms. Another one tries to break them all and wants to prove she is a new voice of Kane. She is a true feminist in all her actions. Urvi is a mixture of both beauty and brain. She is intelligent and competent enough to fight against evil practices of patriarchal society.
Sir, 2 minutes
Urvi,
are left.
okay, ma'am. Karna's wife is a feminist writing as a story is retold, revisioned, and rewrote from female point of view. Kane did not give space to marginalized uh, characters. Here, authors shifts the focus towards neglected characters like Urvi. Kane deliberately creates Urvi as a formidable character who challenges stereotypes and rigid societal norms. Kane deliberately Urvi as aggressive so that she can challenge the male power and superiority. According to patriarchal society, women shall be obedient to inequalities and injustice happening in her surroundings. But Urvi is a portrait as a different kind of a woman makes her capable of upholding the notion that women should be given equal voice, opportunity, and status like the men. Conclusion: Kavita Kane is successful in portraying the marginalized feminist character Urvi by reconstructing the Mahabharata. Kane broadens the perspectives of readers, which is restricted to the one-side narrative. Kane has created bold, aggressive, questioning, and formidable character who is equal to the male characters. Urvi is given roles like a daughter, princess, queen, and outcast wife. She gives best in all her roles. She is an example for an ideal womanhood and a new voice hitherto unheard. She criticizes, questions, rebels against all inequalities, injustice, and caste system. She is a true feminist because she raises questions to patriarchal system and rebels against it. Whoever it may be, she questions their wrong deeds. Her concern for outcast people, women's rights and freedom,
Sir,
and
please
her
conclude. Your time
okay.
is over. Please conclude.
Yes, ma'am. Eventually, one can say a brave woman like Urvi can bring change in the rigid society. Thank you.
Well, Sunil, it was interesting. I should say the topic is very interesting. Is as you have already mentioned, it as a new
Yes,
voice of Urvi in Kavita Kane's novel. Karna's wife, the outcast queen. But
Yes,
I was expecting, you would also
yes.
give some quotations from the work, instead of giving a general kind of,
Ma'am, they are there in a presentation, but
Mhm.
unfortunately, presentation could not open, ma'am.
Okay.
I have put them in a paper, ma'am.
Right. So, any questions?
Yes, ma'am. I do have a question. We talk about feminism and
Yes,
we
ma'am.
talk about the roles of women, and yet again we put them into the patriarchal roles. Just now you mentioned that Urvi has been depicted in the role of a daughter, a role of a princess, the role of an outcast wife. But above and beyond all that, I think we should look at her as a woman, as an individual, and not as a wife or a daughter or all that, because all those are in connection with the male relatives of the woman. But I think you should look at her more from that point of view. That is just a suggestion. So, as a
Yeah,
woman, can you tell me something about her?
Yeah, as an individual, as a person, yes. I think if we had, directly gone to the novel and you could have just analyzed well, I think I'm sure you would have.
she has got several roles,
Sir, you are not
but in
clearly
all
audible.
her roles,
Sunil, sir, you are
she is
not
shown
clearly
as a
audible.
questioning and rebellious. Yes. She has done. Hello, am I audible?
Yeah. Yes, you are. You are now. You're
Ma'am,
audible.
am I audible?
Yes,
Hello.
you are now. You're
Hello.
audible. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Now you
Please
are
go ahead.
audible, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah,
Yes,
go
yes.
ahead. I think you have. Yeah.
She has given all the roles. She has done all the. She has played all the roles, but in all her roles, it is shown that she is questioning and she is rebellious. She is against the patriarchal norms and she hates the caste system and all. So here, I think that roles are not a matter, but her action is a matter. She in all her actions, you can find that she is the true feminist. She questions and she goes against.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is that okay?
So you're trying to say
Thank
that
you.
she's not, just accepting the things, and she questions. All
Yes,
right.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I think it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So our next presenter is Miss Naushadunisa Shiragopi. Ma'am, are you present?
Yes, ma'am, I'm present.
You share her.
Okay, you have sent a PPT. I'll share it.
Please, please. Good afternoon to everyone. With the kind permission of the chairperson, I would like to begin my presentation. So till then, I just want to give my introduction. I am Naushadunisa Shirgupti, research scholar from Rani Chennamma University, working under Professor Nagaratna Parande, madam. So my topic is the conflicts of Muslim women in Samina Ali's Madras on Rainy Days. So as I have time limit, I just want to come on to the main theme of the novel. So Madras on Rainy Days. It is written by Samina Ali. So she is an American author, activist, born in India. And this novel is a debut novel of Samina Ali, which has received the Ronald F. Foundation Writers Award in Fiction and Prix du Premier Woman Étranger Award from France in 2005.
So, according to Jaswinder Gundra in his book Review, Multicultural Review Paul, Samina Ali has created a compelling story filled with psychological insights and a deep understanding of the conflict that plague all of us who inhabit two worlds. So Madras on Rainy Days is a sad and heart-touching story of the life of the heroine and the protagonist of the novel, Laila, who is a half Indian and a half American. Her parents don't want her to remain in America and wanted her to marry a Muslim traditional boy from India to inhabit the Muslim traditional Indianness. As a dutiful daughter, Muslim daughter, and an independent young American girl, Laila is torn between the clashing identities and she agrees to her parents' wish. And for her, she leaves America and submits herself to an arranged marriage. So here Samina presents the complexities of life behind the chadar. So it may be in the name of religion, it may be in the name of tradition, society, or custom through this novel. So the novel opens with an image of Laila who is in the old city of Hyderabad and the preparations of marriage are taking place in the house of Laila. So Laila was unaware with the rituals of marriage in India. So forced to be in a bedroom till the day of marriage, and she was not allowed to show her face until the day of marriage, as it was considered to be inauspicious to show her the bride's face before a few days of the marriage. So Laila suddenly thought to be possessed with the devil. So in Urdu it is called as shaitan. So as she was bleeding continuously, of course, the reason was totally different, but her mother and others think that she is possessed. And for that, Laila's mother takes her to a blind alim, believing that she is already possessed. But this was not the really fact. And this was not the first visit to alim also. And she has to visit each time when she comes back to Hyderabad from United States. And she was raised in America, and she was totally aware with the American culture. And this visits with these visits, she was totally confused why she is visiting every time whenever she is coming back to India. So, but the reality was different for this bleeding, as it is only known by Laila, as she says, quotation, I was no longer the girl others imagined me to be. I was not going to my husband as a virgin. And the bleeding, it was not demonic. It was a dying baby, Nate. I had gotten pregnant. An accident, conceived in haste or in good times. So Nate was an American black boy who Laila befriended. He used to visit her regularly at night through the window of her house. And Laila loved him too. But Laila never wanted to hurt her mother because she was ill since Laila's father's second marriage. So Laila is confused with the concept of the next conflict which she has here. Laila is confused with the concept of covering the body, and she she thinks being in chadar, the women will be more serious about their bodies and the body of men. As Laila says, I felt more desire wrapped in the chadar, more aware that I was a woman, and he, simply by the fate of his being a man, wanted me. So I sometimes met their curious gaze, sometimes let them brush against me as they walk by, and sometimes even followed them with my eyes, admiring their rounded shoulders, their rigid chins, their hairy chests and forearms, their hands. From what better place to notice a man's body than from behind the chadar? This is the thinking of the Laila in the novel, being a modern woman who has grown up in America. So after her marriage, the people of her sasural asked her to read the Quran. She was unable to read Arabic and she feels uncomfortable to say this. And she feels this Indian environment totally alien. But at the same time, when she sees white shirt, black pants, and black polished bright shoes as her own, because this was the common outfit in American culture, Laila has the conflict of culture and religion, we can say here. So, as this novel has other female characters, so because of the time shortage, I have included only two characters, that is Laila and her mother. So, Laila's mother. Laila's mother, who's a male child, as Laila's mother was unable to get pregnant for the second time because of her health complications. He felt first why he just left the house, and he has made two separate homes for both wives, and he used to be with the second wife, Shabana. Since then, she was in a bedroom, Laila's mother, since then, she was in a bedroom and never came out. Now she has come out of the room for the preparations of the marriage of her only girl child, as Laila says in her words. It had only become in the past 10 years since Dad took on a second wife, and Ammi finally came out of the bedroom, skinnier, dried out, and no longer able to enduring faith. So, the novel is begin. Can you please go to the next slide?
Ma'am, please conclude, as the time is over. Please conclude soon.
Please, okay. So in the conclusion part, I just want to quote one line from the novel. So here she is in quest for the freedom. So as she says that my body hidden and safe under the chadar, belonging only to me, and she at last, she says that I am free with or without way. Thank you everyone.
Well, it was an interesting, I should say, paper, with this Shargupi. Conflict of Muslim women in Samina Ali's Madras on rainy days. So I find she has talked about a woman as such. It can be anyone, though she is a Muslim woman. You find she is born. She's a woman who has grew in America, and then you find she has come to Hyderabad, and you've seen what kind of dilemma she is in. Well, so any questions?
If anyone has any questions, please switch on your audio and you can ask. I guess there are no questions. So two participants, we are trying to contact them. They will. I'll put their name in the last. So now next paper is of Ridhima Narayan, and her title is.
One second, Didi. Can you take last minute like that? Do you think you will have time for that? And is it right? Last minute, you're adding 2 more papers. If I think all these 8 papers.
No, ma'am, not more. No, ma'am, not more papers. Mr. Prashant Pawar and Ruxana Mujawar is there. Those two have not joined the session. I'll call them and tell them to join.
All right.
Yes.
That's fine.
So next is Ridhima Narayan, and her title is Reinforcement of Sexism Through Instagram.
By exploring the cultural information contained within memes, researchers can gain a deeper understanding of the values and practices and conditions that shape contemporary society. It becomes extremely important to understand memes in terms of culture as well as popular fiction. Women should shave their legs. Women belong in the kitchen. Women should dress modestly. Women are exposed to such astute observations regularly in their day-to-day life. Based on feminist interpretation of psychoanalysis of Laura Mulvey's essay, Visual Pleasure and Narrative Cinema reflects on the act of looking in cinema. Here I'm trying to put the same theory in context of meme. The action on the screen then becomes a satisfaction of our desires or what we are looking at. why to study memes, why it is so important, or why it is relevant in today's period to study or to research on memes. A part of everyday communication, expression, and explanation, thus useful in qualitative research. Valuable cultural units and symbols can be studied through it. Forms of rapport building and cultivating relational research, methods that infuse agency, humor, and creativity into the research process. Forms and sources for memes. The popularity of a meme is what ensures its survival. If a meme doesn't get viral, it won't be able to survive. And so it becomes extremely important to understand how a particular kind of meme, which is sexist in nature, and everyone and every person who is looking at it knows that it's sexual, and even then it tends to get viral. Undoubtedly, memes are as diverse as they are pervasive, from text combined with one image, illustration, it could be a GIF, it could be a video, or multiple images constantly in flux. Ultimately, in transmitting content images from a participant to researcher to public through a research study or academic domain, the content image takes on a meme persona as well. The approach or the study that we can do in regard to memes is qualitative. The necessity of data collection and representation approaches that advance the meaningfulness and cultural relevance of a qualitative inquiry. While the power and visibility of memes is not lost on many, it arguably should not be lost on qualitative researchers, anthropologists, and social scientists. The premise of this text is to center the significance and utility of memes as a powerful tool and asset in qualitative research. I specifically argue that memes are useful as a research method and as a way to represent research in terms of cultural context. Now, we are looking at the first meme that we are going to study here. The picture, as you can see, says feminist we want, and on the other hand, we have the feminist we get. Similarly, this is not just a meme which got viral. This has a lot more deeper understanding of what we call mass media and the cultural appropriation. So the feminist we want is the culturally appropriate women we desire of. And the feminist we are getting is something we see as regressive figures or something which is not valuable to the society. And who decide it is valuable and who is not? The mass media or the popular culture. Now, it is very bigotry to say that the first one is a feminist and second one is not a feminist. The inquiry into the cultural information contained in memes has the potential to expiate the very ideas, values, practices, and conditions that compromise our culture. They say a woman's work is never done. Maybe that's why they get paid less. Now, this is just a meme. It got viral. The thing about this is he's not just talking about the women's position inside the house, or he's not just talking about the women in general. He's talking about housewives who work in-house and they are doing the daily chores and it never ends. And then he talks about the economic condition of women and why there should be a division of labor and how that division of labor should be unequal or the equity should not be maintained there. And how brilliantly he justifies it. There is no justification given to memes. There is comment section open to everyone, but there is no justification provided to why such kind of inequality or inequity should be in position at first. Now we are looking at another meme. Through their very identities and format, memes at their best reflect culture. They are distinguishable, adaptable, and enduring. That is one of the foremost reasons why they get viral or trending. As such, memes have the potential to amplify the realities and representations of our values, contexts, communities, and environments by embodying those dynamics. Again, we have one more. To be sure, the amusing nature of most memes can prove useful in discussing serious element of a participant's experience. Although I later discuss how memes can be specifically incorporated, I provide an illustration of why this may look like here. For example, if a participant is asked to respond with a meme that reflects their sentiments about doing job-related work. I will like her pics on Facebook. She's totally going to fall in love with me. Now, this is another condition, how in Indian society we have legitimized the eve teasing and everything. We consider someone who follows you, as we see in movies and otherwise as well. When a guy is trying to follow you, is trying to put more efforts into it, that is what we consider as a romantic appropriation factor, which should not be, because this is somehow eve teasing.
Ma'am, please conclude. Your time is over. Please conclude as soon as possible.
All right. What do you think queens look like and what queens really look like? This is again talking about women empowerment, how on the left side the image is shown, which is not dynamically appropriate for Indian society. And the second one, is considered an appropriate representation. Now, this is not just about the women, this is also about other genders as well. I'll just leave it to the images that you can see on your screen. Potential of memes. Memes can accomplish much in service to a qualitative research project and its study aims. Memes can also be a useful tool to amplify and support remote qualitative data collection. One way of tackling misogyny that is spread through memes is by raising awareness to address it. And second one, that decision makers should introduce policies which provide a safe space to call out such behaviors, to context the power and realities possible of work that is meaningful, relevant of who we are as people. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ridhima. Well, you did not introduce yourself. Will you kindly do that? Will you introduce yourself?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Ridhima Narayan and I'm from Meerut. I'm a research scholar at Chaudhary Charan Singh University.
All right. Well, it was an interesting paper, and the topic was reinforcement of Instagram's gendered names in India. So this is a very recent kind of, I should say, topic which you have taken up. Names, they are in a constant flux. So what do you think about the future of these names? Yeah.
Ma'am, the future of memes doesn't seem to be very bright for feminists, as feminists are already seen as man haters, which is not true. So it becomes extremely important to follow the right kind of people, to subscribe to the right kind of channels on YouTube. And as women, it becomes extremely important on our part to actually promote the women who are actually going against the sexist nature. By nature, there are so many influencers available online. Saloni Chopra is one of my favorite, who talks about how we are okay with seeing certain kind of bodies and figures online, and how we are not okay with seeing the same figures online. Let's take, for example, if Deepika Padukone portrays a picture of herself in bikini, enjoying her life or ocean life or seeing sea, then that's very